Talk about making the transition from nose guard to defensive tackle. People might not think it's a big deal, but it is different techniques and different assignments. Can you talk about making that transition?
Started in spring. It was a pretty seamless transition. I think I was prepared really well by Coach Hall, and then the rest of the defensive line. Really, it helped me see how like the larger picture works more than just like my one spot. I was able to, I think that's maybe because of increased responsibility at the position that I might not have realized before. And I think that helped my overall understanding of the defense in general, which of course I think aids my play.
I was just asking kind of overall vibe around the team. I asked Ken that the other day, and I know there's a little bit of frustration, but I also assume that when you're sitting in a spot where you can self-improve, I assume that's got to help the vibe a little bit, I suppose.
Well, I think you're exactly right. The biggest step a lot of teams take is from their first game to the second, or after a big loss, or an expected loss rather. And that's kind of what we had this first game. So of course we're always striving to make improvements, every week. I think there is a positive vibe. I mean, we can come in, we're very capable of beating this Memphis team, and no one's pointing fingers or anything. I mean, we're all very much in this together, and the defense still has to keep up its end of the bargain as well. Certainly not anybody's fault.
In general, is it easier to clean up, I would say, self-inflicted mistakes than maybe if you go into a game and there's something, maybe a bigger picture issue, whereas you can say, hey, these are mistakes that we made. We can clean those up in-house. Does that make it easier? I assume that's easier than if there were some bigger issues.
You're exactly right. It does. The two times Delaware scored, we call them BOs. We beat ourselves. We allowed them to score those touchdowns. We gave them gifts, essentially. And if we do what we're supposed to do on defense and we can eliminate those, it's good. We know that those were self-inflicted, so it's something we can control and we can fix that and mitigate it in the future. And in this case, that's what it was. So that's a good news. So we can fix it.
How is tackle different from nose guard? In what ways? I mean, I guess your different technique as far as gaps, assignments, and who you're going against?
Yeah, so as a defensive tackle, I find myself containing the football to the boundary a lot. And, sometimes just like maybe a casual observer, that might seem like you're kind of out of the play, but it can very quickly be exploited if you're not there to contain the quarterback or the ball carrier. Sometimes you have to cut the field and have to send the ball back the other way into the blitz, which is how our defense is designed for some plays. And whereas I felt when I was a nose guard, I was really just kind of in the thick of it, immediately, lined up right over the center most of the time, and wasn't able to see as much. And I think as a defensive tackle, I'm able to see more of not just the defense and how it works, but physically like the offense, what's going on like outside of me more peripherally.
So how did it go in the first game? What was Coach Hall's grade? Did he feel you did a good job, or do you feel like you got some work to do?
Well, we always have stuff we can improve on. Overall, I think the defensive line played very well. We held them, I believe, to 13 yards rushing, so that's pretty phenomenal. Anytime a defense can do that, that's big time for us. Really, we harp on building our defensive wall, and if the two interior guys and the defensive end, we can all, put that wall up basically, then they shouldn't be able to get anything on us, and that's what we try to do.
All right, that's good for me now.
Let's go to Phil Bergman.
Yeah, Clay, Scott stole my thunder earlier. Just Oxford is pretty close to Memphis. Just what's it like to get to take on Memphis?
It's pretty cool. Last season when we went down to Memphis, I felt, pretty much at home. That's, I go to Memphis a lot. It's really cool to be able to kind of go back home, or at least play people who I know, or I'm at least familiar with. Might have played them in some high school, but it's a unique feeling. It's different than playing, people from, anywhere in the country, but someplace I have some familiarity with.
You guys are starting off conference play this Saturday. Just how important is it to, kind of forget about Delaware and move on to this next game.
I think it's vital that we move off the loss and focus on Memphis conference play. You're exactly right. We have to get off to a fast start, I believe, and this can set the tone really for the rest of our season and certainly the next games to come. Memphis is a quality opponent, and we're more than capable of beating them. And I think if we do that, we can really gain some momentum going forward.
And lastly, you touched that you kind of know some players on Memphis. Are you close with anybody on the Tigers team?
Not really close, mostly just guys who, after I played them last year, realized like they were on a high school that was close by. Some guys from Mississippi. I couldn't really tell you who exactly, but.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Scott Wyckoff.
Yeah, Clay, how important is the chemistry that you've developed with Busick and Biscuit on that defensive line? It seems like you guys are maturing as you come through the academy on this team together.
I think it's very important. We have been, I think you're exactly right, growing together, and we've kind of been able to stay a unit, from last year to this year and continue on to the next season. And I think that just builds trust in each other, and we know that we can depend on each other. I have my buddies that I can depend on, and I would like for them to be able to depend on me, and that's really critical, I think, just as a team in general, but certainly on a defensive line.
Talking about depending on each other, a game in the opener where the team gets 5 sacks, and while maybe some guys on the defensive line might not get that actual sack, it means that you guys are doing your job if a John Marshall can come in there and take down a guy a couple times in the backfield.
Exactly. You're exactly right. We keep track of assists here, and not so much in terms of like, you're in on a tackle, but it's like you doing your job allows someone else to make a big play. So anytime that the defensive line is able to, open up gaps for someone like John Marshall or a linebacker or one of the other defensive linemen to make a play, big sack, tackle for loss, that's a huge deal for us. And, celebrate with your teammates. And, that goes back to the, kind of we all lean on each other. And if I'm able to help someone do their job, that's a great thing too.
How does it feel to be another season ingrained in this defensive scheme that Coach Newberry has? Is it more comfortable and you don't have to think as much when you're out there, having been in it a few seasons now?
It's very comfortable. I feel like I'm very familiar with it, and especially grown just in understanding the defense from last season. Even with the position change, I think that actually helped open my eyes more to what was going on, especially on the defensive line, and then learning how to kind of predict what an offense might try to do based off the defense we're running.
Thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, I'll make another trip around. Kareem.
Quickie, Clay, what were you most pleased with the defense in that first one?
Our ability to stop the run. I think I said earlier they got 13 yards. We had, I think, maybe 5 sacks, 10 tackles for loss. That means we're playing on their side of the line of scrimmage. We're not getting pushed back. We're not playing on our heels, and we're really kind of taking the fight to them. We're getting in their backfield and stopping them, creating negative plays on first and second down, that really can kill a drive, and getting 3 and outs. That's huge for a defense, and it's demoralizing for the offense.
And some more kind of random, a little bit off topic, but I wanted to ask about Mississippi. Do you have anybody in the Jackson area or any of your people in the Jackson area that's been dealing with the water issue down there, or is everybody kind of all good from, people that are close to you?
For people that are close to me, everybody's good. I'm not, I don't have any family down in the Jackson area, but certainly, aware that that's going on.
Clay, how pleased were you with Biscuit's play out there Saturday?
Well, I was very excited for him, going back to celebrating with your teammates. It's critical that he was able to make those plays and get tackles for loss, recover a fumble. It's a big time for the defense. And, I'm just as excited for him that he was able to do that if it were me or anybody else. It's all about, getting the W, having a successful outing for defense. But I was excited for him. It's great to see.
That's it. Thank you.
Scott Wyckoff.
Clay, typically when we see that a player has a background in track and field and is a a lineman. We look to shot putter, things of that sort. But yourself, a hurdler, running in sprints. What has that meant to you as a defensive lineman, being able to have that speed and agility that maybe not a lot of the big guys have?
I think you just hit on it. Speed and agility, being able to be quick on your feet, recover quickly, and really speed's key. We got to be faster than some offensive linemen that might be bigger than us, taller than us. That's really key to defensive line play.
And when you look at the league play in the American Athletic Conference, year in, year out, this team, this Memphis team, always seems to have bigger and bigger linemen. And you guys really work on that speed and agility to deal with that?
We do. You got to be fast with your hands coming off the line, quick feet, so you don't get tangled up or reached on a block when they're trying to run the outside zone on you or something like that. But speed is very key to be able to beat some of these bigger, slower guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Clay, who recruited you?
Coach Ingram.
That's what I figured. Since he does Tennessee, it's right nearby, huh?
Yes, sir.
I was going to ask you, Phil kind of stole my thunder, but Busick and Biscuit both got credited with sacks. How psyched were you about that?
I was very excited for him. It's a great play for the defense. Just because it might not be me getting it, I'm not any less excited if it was someone else. It's a big time play for the defense. If we get the offense behind the chains, maybe get off the field if it's third down, and put the offense in a difficult position. So it's all about the team unit, and if I'm able to get one myself, that's great. But I'm not any less excited if it's someone else. I'm very happy for that. Biscuit
in particular was in the backfield a lot, chasing guys around, flushing the quarterback out of the pocket. I mean, is that kind of the goal that Coach Hall has for you all? Be penetrating and be disruptive?
I think it's always been that playing on their side of the line of scrimmage, and depending on the team we play and the plays we have drawn up, there might be one position on the defensive line that's in spots to make more plays than others, and that's really just depending. But I think we have confidence in everyone's ability to do that, and no matter who it is, it really doesn't matter who it is. But it's all about penetrating, playing on their side of the line of scrimmage.
Once you went back over tape, what were you most pleased with? I assume it has something to do with the run defense.
Yeah, I think overall, I thought we ran the ball. I thought we played really hard. Certainly, I thought for the first game of the year we executed at a pretty decent clip. Some things that we'd like to get back. Obviously, I think there's 2 scoring drives that they had, plays where we just beat ourselves. I sort of felt like we gave them what they got a couple of times, and so that was disappointing. Certainly a lot to correct, obviously, and hopefully, and the old saying goes, the greatest improvement is from week 1 to week 2. And so hopefully that's the case this week. It's going to need to be because Memphis is a good football team.
I just asked Clay this exact same thing. He mentioned, beating yourselves on a couple plays. Are those things easier to correct considering they're a little bit more self-inflicted as opposed to if there were some more grander thing to address?
Yeah, certainly. If it was a personnel issue or something like that, there's not a lot you can do about that, right? But if it's something that you have control over, that's what we talk about all the time. There's things that we can control, things we can't. We certainly want to be great at the things that we can control, and we know it's hard to win around here, and you can't win games beating yourselves, especially the close ones. The margin for error is very, very small, and it's not to say that we're not going to make mistakes, but we can't make the kind of mistakes where we give people gifts, and we did that a couple of times Saturday. Had we not done that, then I think it might be a different feeling around here this week.
And just one last thing for me, when you're watching Memphis tape, I think they punted on 6 of their first 7 drives, so it took them a while to kind of get going offensively. When you're watching that tape, what stood out to you?
Well, I think Mississippi State's pretty good on defense. That's one thing that, personnel-wise stands out to you. But they're every year we play Memphis. They're talented, and this year's no exception. Really talented at skill positions. The quarterback's back. He's a really good player. As you saw against us last year, he lit us up pretty good. The O-line's big and physical. And, the offensive coordinator I'm very familiar with, Ramsey's new there, and he does a phenomenal job. This will be my third time going up against him. And so he does a really, really good job with that offense and schematically what they do. And it's challenging. So it's going to be a tough game. They're talented across the board and they're well coached.
Perfect. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Wags.
Hey, Coach. So we just had Clay Cromwell on, and he said that both touchdowns that Delaware scored were busted coverages. Can you maybe expound?
Yeah, we got off to a rough start, obviously. First play of the game was a questionable at best pass interference call that put him in first and goal on the 5. And we had a misalignment by one player. Another player overcompensated for that, and it took him away from being able to do his job. And I think Evan Gibbons will tell you, I trust him as much as I trust anybody on the field. And there's one play, second play of the game, first game of the season, took his eyes off his key, and that's something he never does. And so we give him an easy toss and catch there on that play. Then you fast forward into the third quarter, and we have him in second and 9. We get a late hit on an incomplete pass that would have put him in third and 9 backed up. We were doing pretty well on third and long on Saturday, so I gave him a first down, 15-yard penalty there, and then we have a pressure. We lose contain to the field. The quarterback scrambles outside the contained rusher, and corner runs up, and the receiver turns and runs, gets behind him, and that was the big play of the second half. So yeah, I think those two plays. You could say that the second touchdown should have been a sack probably, and so that's an instance of us beating ourselves and losing leverage on the football, and for us, leverage is everything on defense. We compare leverage to the brotherhood. And so we can't lose that, and that's something that we can control there in that situation. So we got to coach them better. We got to do a better job. We can't give people those kind of plays.
So I think Fletcher wound up starting at the will linebacker position, but Ramos came on and had a heck of a game. Were you surprised by that?
Not at all. Not at all. I thought Ramos, had we won that game, probably would have been player of the game. I thought he played really, really well. Thought he played fast. Thought he executed everything we asked him to do, and it's just he's gotten a lot better. He came on strong at the end of the year last year, if you remember Wags. He had great spring. He's had great fall camp, and so it doesn't surprise me at all. Really excited about him.
And then we were talking to Clay about the D line as a whole, and he felt they played pretty well. They were playing quote unquote on the Delaware side of the line of scrimmage. Busick, if you could talk about him, 2 sacks, and then I thought Biscuit was in the backfield a lot. I'm pretty sure he was credited with sack. And I know he had a fumble recovery, and there was a couple other times I saw him bust into the backfield and start chasing the quarterback, flush him out of the pocket. Can you talk about the D line as a whole, and maybe Busick and Biscuit in particular?
Yeah, no, I was. They handled the line of scrimmage really well. I was really proud of the way they played. Both those guys that you just mentioned really flashed on Saturday and made a lot of good plays for us. I think that they'd both tell you there's a lot of things they clean up and things that we can do better for sure. But I was pleased with the first game and the effort that those guys played with, and the fundamentals I think can get a little bit better. But overall, pleased with that unit.
Is that it, Wags? Bill Bergman.
Coach, after rewatching the tape from Saturday, what are some positives you took away?
Well, we talked about being disruptive. We certainly were. I think 12 tackles for a loss is a pretty good day in that regard. And then we talk about getting off the field on third down, and I think we were 85% doing that. And so those are the things that we emphasize around here, and those are the things that I thought we did really well Saturday.
I know you touched on Gibbons making that mistake early, but other than that, he had a pretty good game. What do you see out of number 11?
He did. I mean, he really showed up in the run game, made some really nice tackles. Avon plays really fast, triggers. He's really physical. I thought he did a nice job communicating during the game, getting us in the right coverages, and things like that. So he did a nice job for us. And I think a lot of Gibbons and the way he plays and just how committed he is to his team and the work he puts in, not just during practice, but watching film and doing all those things that you love what your players to do.
And Rayon Lane, he almost had an interception. He had some nice special teams tackles too. How pleased are you with his development?
Yeah, really pleased, and light years ahead of where he was, even at the end of last year. And he'll continue to get better as he gets more and more confidence. And he's got to clean up some little things, alignments, technique, pad level, that kind of stuff. And but you see him flash, and he caused a fumble. We didn't recover that one, but it was a really nice play and made some nice plays in the run game. And so I'm pleased at where Ray's at, and like everybody else, there's room for improvement there for sure. But he's come a long ways.
Kareem,
I'm actually all set on today. Thank you.
Wags,
Well, on regarding turnovers, there were opportunities to get them. They had a fumble and they recovered their own fumble. Rayon had his hand on a ball that I thought could have been picked. How disappointing that you got to finish on those opportunities to get turnovers, right?
Yeah, you do. And the one with Gibbons that Ray punched out is tough. He's running over there. It's it kind of rolled into him, then rolled out. And some of those things bounce your way, and sometimes they don't. And hopefully, this week we'll catch those balls, we'll recover those fumbles. But if we keep playing with the kind of effort that we're playing with, and we're as disruptive as we were on Saturday, then those things are going to happen. We're going to get more of those.
What can you say about John Marshall in the backfield? 2 sacks, 3.5 tackles for loss, totaling minus 17 yards. That's a pretty good day.
Yeah, I thought he had a great day. Made some really nice plays. Played hard. Played every snap on defense. Played on special teams. I think there's a couple of plays he'd love to get back. The second touchdown that I mentioned earlier, he was the one that should have been contained rushing, and I know that one's eating him up. But yeah, he's going to continue to get better and better. And if we just clean some little things up, I think we got a chance to be pretty good.
So 2 backup safeties got some run, Marcus Moore and Joe Hudson. Are you using one of or both of them in nickel or dime? Is that why they're getting on the field?
Yeah. They're both backups at free and bandit. And then when we get into dime, Joe Hudson comes on the field. Tiki comes on the field as well. We give Gibbons a break, give him a blow. And so we'll continue to use both those guys. In base, if those other guys need a blow. And then, really excited about Joe Hudson. He's really flashed this preseason and did some really good things on Saturday. So he's going to continue to get more reps, even in base, at that bandit or free safety spot. He can play both. And then when we get in dime, he's our adjuster, and really, really like him, really pleased at where he's at. And he's going to continue to get better and better too.
So with regard to Memphis, they lost a lot of skill position guys. I think I went back and looked at who hurt you last year. Obviously, Calvin Austin's in the NFL now, and there's the other guy that caught the long touchdown pass against you. He's gone.
Yeah.
I was actually talking to the Memphis beat reporter for the Commercial Appeal, and he said that they're waiting to see what skill position players step up, because at one game in, there's still some unknowns there. What are you seeing? Are they still fast, athletic?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they recruit speed at wide out there, and they've got 3 that can fly, and so they're still really athletic. I don't know that they've settled in on one guy that they get the ball to a ton just yet, but they're all capable. They can all run. They can all take the top off the coverage, and I'm glad Calvin Austin's gone. But the other ones are good players too. So they always replace speed with speed.
Well, and that was the issue in that game last year, was big plays. I think that basically all their points were produced by big plays, either a touchdown or it set up a touchdown.
Yeah.
Is that an emphasis this week? Cannot give up the 50, 60-yard plays?
Yeah, no question. I mean, that's always the big emphasis around here. You can't win games like that. And our guys know if you give up an explosive play in a drive, the chances of the offense scoring a touchdown go up about 50%. And so we got to keep things in front of us, and we can't allow big plays. And when we do that, we're pretty good. We make people earn what they get. And then it's hard for an offense to go 12, 14 plays without making a mistake or messing something up. So if teams do that and they score, and hats off to them, they did a good job. But we can't give up the one hitters. We can't make those kinds of mistakes. And yeah, last year was a rough evening when we played them. They get 3 or 4 in the first half. It was just head scratchers, So we obviously got to do a better job in that regard against these guys. And the other 2 years we played them, we've done a pretty good job of that. And but we've got to do a much better job this year.
Thanks.
So.
Yeah, coach, I guess one of those running backs, Jay Ducker, was MAC freshman of the year, a transfer over there. He had a big run against Mississippi State. Just what have you seen so far out of this Memphis offense?
Well, they've got 3 running backs, feel that are pretty dang good. And they all flash. They can all catch the ball out of the backfield. They get the back out quite a bit. I think he had 5 targets last week, had a couple of nice catches. And so all 3 of the running backs are really good players.